No worries.
All right, welcome back. Day 15 of 30 of my 30-day challenge. Uh, I'm sorry, let me set my thing here. All right, we have Mercenary in the chat. How you doing, Mercenary?
Doing good, doing good. Happy to be here.
All right, awesome. You'll see my screen is black. We're going to do something a little bit different here. Let me load in the image here for you guys. Hold on. Okay. This is so Mercenary and I are going to go through an in-depth look at the save editor, which we looked at it briefly when I was showing the creature builder, which you also shared, and I appreciate that.
hmm
Java save editor, there it is. So hopefully you guys can see that. Let me move this around. And I'm going to hold off on the music. I'm not going to have any music playing right now since we're going to be MS says, "Hi, Mercenary. Nice man cave you got." Yeah, I was admiring your images there that you had provided in the Discord. Speaking of which, we're going to share a Discord image this one is from Spock. Here we go.
Uh-huh.
Once I rearrange the order here. There we go. This is from Spock Z. This is his glitch build, which I really admire the ones that he's putting in here because it's almost like artwork, like an architecture or something. This stuff like an art sculpture. I'm trying to say. So these are really cool. So if you have any awesome screenshots, drop them in the Discord. I'm happy to share them with you guys. All right, so down to business. Mercenary and I are going to go through the save editor, and we're doing this live. Guys, you can just leave your comments and questions in the chat here, and we'll answer those for you. And then this is going to be edited, and we're going to, I'm going to create like I'm sorry, I'm trying to multitask here and I'm not doing very well. I'm gonna upload this as an edited video so you guys can check this out later on, in the future, and hopefully we'll get more people on board with this thing. So, just a couple quick questions for you before we get into the save editor. One, you mentioned this before. Can this be used for console, or is this really just a PC only thing?
It can definitely be used for console, but you most likely have to go through another third-party system. So, because I started on PlayStation,
Oh,
and
okay. So
what?
you've done this on console before.
Yes,
Okay. So do you remember what the name of that was, the software you were using, or what they could search for if they were looking for that?
yeah. So the one that I was using was called Save Wizard. So it's a prescription service, unfortunately. So you would have to pay like it's like around like $60 a year, or every couple years, something like that,
Okay.
because they give you a license key.
And that's a totally different program from this save editor, right? Or is that
Yes,
something you
yeah.
use with this?
No, it's a completely separate thing. Like it's essentially a service where um they take advantage of save files, kind of like this save editor does,
Mm-hmm.
and they pretty much they get funding. They get funding from people. People donate, and sometimes they take an interest, particularly on a few games, because they kind of do their own thing, which I kind of didn't like. It's like whatever games they like, they focus on the most. But
Okay.
either way, so they have a whole library. I mean, it's over like I think at this point they have like 1,300 something games with like things like unlocking levels, maps, equipment. Occasionally, there's like give yourself more money, stuff like that in games. Like they have GTA where you can give yourself more money. I originally used it uh, for Cyberpunk, where I was able to give myself more experience, more money, more upgrade points to essentially unlock all the upgrades. Occasionally, you have stuff like in Aliens Fireteam Elite, where you could level yourself up super quickly.
Wow.
So that's
Okay.
that's how it works. Yeah.
So it's just another save editor that it uh does it operate similar to this one? Because I know a lot of people play on console, and I wanted to
Mhm.
help them out too. So this particular software is only for the PC version, right?
No, this one is actually universal as long as you can decrypt your information, which is why Say Wizard was so helpful for me at that point in time.
Oh, okay. So you could use
Yeah.
this with console. You just need something else to decrypt the save file or
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It also depends on how the console makers make things. With Xbox, as far as I know, you could literally just take your save, put it onto a flash drive, and then hook it up to your laptop and mess with it like that.
Okay, yeah,
With
because
PlayStation,
basically
you have
the Xbox is just a PC, from what I understand. It's just got its own
it.
operating system. But
Yeah,
I think,
yeah,
like you're about to say, PlayStation might be a whole different animal.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, it is because they like to encrypt things in their own kind of way.
Okay.
So what I would do is I would get my save file, put it on a flash drive, connect it to my laptop at the time, and then activate Save Wizard. Save Wizard will, since it's specifically made for PlayStation, it will identify that information, grab it, and give you like sometimes it's literally as simple as it will tell you the game, right? It will identify what save file it is for what game, and then you can click like literally just little buttons. Give me
Wow.
this, give me that. Occasionally you have the advanced mode, where it will essentially decrypt the entire save file and you can see the whole thing like a hex editor. You can copy, paste it, put it into this save editor, and then do what you want with it, and then just do the whole process in reverse and then slap it back into your PlayStation.
Okay, so there is hope. We're not going to get in that today because
Mm,
I don't play on console, but
mm,
it can be done. You can do this save editing
yes.
on console. That was my main concern. So I guess what we're gonna do is I have it open here.
Mhm.
Are you watching this on the live stream so you can see my screen as well?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So there is like a 15-20 second delay or something. But right now I have the main page open. And
Mm,
just a quick disclaimer to anyone using this, use common sense. If you're poking around in here, make sure you back up all your save files just in case something goes wrong. So, and I've already done that. And then when you load in now, oh, and just a quick background, I've used this a little bit, but the reason why we have Mercenary on here is he has a lot more experience with this. So he's going to be the guy that's going to guide us through this. Um, so I
mm,
have my save path here for where my save files are for No Man's Sky. That's pretty self-explanatory. You guys can figure out where that is. It's users, your username, app data, local, packages, hello games, system app data, WGS, and then you'll see some long number. But if you can't
mm.
find it, you can do some searches online for that. Once you select your save path, you'll have your game slots, and this would be like your save files when you're first loading up the game and you're picking your save file. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and then after you select that is the individual saves within that file. So, like mine would be my last autosave. Um,
Yes.
Modified, that's pretty self-explanatory. Tells you the last time you modified it or saved it. And here's a real quick question before we dive into it as well. I assume you have to have No Man's Sky closed while you're editing this, or does it not matter?
Well, I do believe you can edit things in real time. I just wouldn't recommend it because usually the only things that can do that smoothly are like if you have like a couple a couple thousand a couple grand to spend on a very good computer.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's possible, but maybe not recommended.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's basically all there is to the main tab. So before we go off to the next one, is there anything you want to add to this tab here? Any information you want to add to that?
Mhm. Well, so the save path where it has all like that, C user, someone app data, that stuff. So luckily the save editor will identify your No Man's Sky save file automatically. So it does that so you don't have to worry about having to like type that in or set a path, programming this to find this file in this save in this folder. It does it automatically.
Now mine didn't. I did have to go through a whole spiel here to get that
Really?
connected, but it could be
Mm.
because I'm not playing through Steam. I'm using the Xbox Game Pass to play this, so I'm
Okay.
not sure if that had some effect. Are you playing through Steam or Xbox?
Yeah, because yeah, so essentially yours is like more of like a cloud storage save
Okay.
in a sense, a little bit. Mine is just direct because it's directly on my PC.
Okay,
Um,
so that's good to know. So your save file might automatically be there, or you might have to go hunting for it, like I did.
yeah.
Okay, so you ready to go on to the exosuit, or is how do you want to
Yep.
do this? You want to just work our way across from left to
Yeah,
right?
we could. Yeah, we could definitely do that. Yeah.
All right, so now we're in the exosuit tab here. I'll let you just give us an explanation what we're looking at.
Okay. So the first couple bars on the left side, you have like your health, your shield, your energy. Those pretty much have like a bit of a hard cap, so you can try putting like a billion energy, but it's always going to reset back to like a certain amount. There are certain exceptions to the rules, but we can get into that later on.
Okay.
Because there's another program I use that's a direct hex editor that sometimes you can kind of blunt force the game to kind of cooperate. But as for like everything else, there's like units, nanites, quicksilver. Everything caps out at essentially 4 billion, or I know you can go 4.2. I just recommend to keep it at 4 billion because, for example, if you try to like scrap a ship, it won't let you because
Mm,
you can't earn any more money.
okay.
Um, yeah,
So
so
so that's you. Are you talking about units? Yeah,
yeah,
that
well,
would be
units,
units.
nanites, and everything. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and do this while we're here. So I'm gonna give myself 4 billion. So 4 billion is 000000000. There we go.
hmm
So and do I just press Control S to save this? Does that
No,
work?
you could just so you can copy what you just put down and paste it on each one of those
Right.
and just
So
highlight it. Yeah.
and then every time you make a change, you just save your editor, right? Save file.
You can. It's recommended.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to. You can just do everything you want, but just remember if you don't save it and you accidentally close it, then you have to do it all over again.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just like pretty
Yeah.
much everything else. So I just gave
Yeah.
myself 4 million units, 4 million nanites, and 4 million quicksilver.
hmm
Okay. So tell us about what we see here in the middle.
Okay. So, you're talking about squares?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's essentially your storage. So, this has kind of changed over the years. Originally there was three sections. There
Okay.
was inventory, cargo, and technology, but now they just simplified it to cargo and technology, like it is in game.
Okay.
So if you go into one of the boxes and you right click, you're gonna get a few options.
Okay.
Um, so you can put like enable all slots, so it will literally unlock your whole inventory.
Oh yeah. Okay. So those are literally the squares that you see in your
Yes,
inventory. And what I did is I just unlocked all of them. So I would
yes,
now have maximum storage
yes.
for my exosuit. Got
Yeah.
it.
Now the interesting thing is, so the one thing that's interesting about this game is the developers they like to, they have the philosophy of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So a lot of the storage is all pretty much the same. It's just copy and paste, copy and paste. Sometimes they kind of label it a little bit different so it acts a little bit different, but all the storage is essentially the same. So one of the things you can do is if you go to resize inventory, you'll have
Oh, up
with
here, resize. So my
yeah.
something weird is happening with my screen here. Whenever I
Mhm.
hover over this, it's okay. Let's try that. Let's make sure. I'm sorry, guys. This is the screen's acting a little weird. I think this thing doesn't want to play nice when you're using a video recording software. Like I'm using Streamlabs right now, and I think it's acting a
Mhm.
little funny because of that. So it's working now. Let's hit resize inventory, width and height. Oh, okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I could add more columns and rows this way.
Yes. So um, the maximum should be 10 by 12.
Okay.
At least that's the, yeah. So you can try to brute force it to give you more. I wouldn't recommend it because sometimes what happens is you'll have it unlocked, but when you go in game and you're like scrolling down your whole page of inventory space,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see more squares at the bottom, but it won't let you access them. And sometimes it could be items in there and you can't click on them to drag them out.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so there'll be like little lost items, but you can kind of avoid them being stuck down there by like going into the gene splicer, and let's say in that square in no man's land. It's like a carp. You can go to the gene editor, put carbon in there, and it will drag it out of that box, and then you can put it back in your inventory, and it'll slap it into whatever empty box there is. So you kind of like use that to kind of move it.
Okay, so there are some hacks where you can even expand beyond the normal 10 by 12, but for the most part, I guess you would just leave it at 10 by 12, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's not as common as it used to be. Um, I think in this one, I think 10 by 12 is actually the maximum. The only exception would probably be the storage containers, because those ones you can definitely add more
Oh,
than you should be able to.
okay. We'll get to that. That's going to be like
Yeah,
bases and storage. Okay.
yeah,
So I'm on the cargo tab. That's obviously your storage. Let's switch over to technology. Okay, and I'm guessing I can do the same thing. I can enable
yes,
all slots. We also have repair, supercharge, and supercharge all slots. So that would
yeah,
be totally overpowered if I go ahead and supercharge all slots. I think I'm going to try
yeah.
that.
You can, yeah, yeah. The only thing that doesn't let you do that are the exocraft, because the exocraft are like particularly finicky.
Okay.
They just don't like to cooperate. But it's not as overpowered as you would think.
Well, it
If
would. I
you
don't even know how would you ever do that in the game. Like that would take you forever to have this much car or what is it technology opened up
Mhm,
and have them all
mhm.
supercharged, and we just did it in a few clicks. So that's why I'm saying it's overpowered. Like you just like
Yeah.
the snap of a
Well,
finger, and you have all
yeah,
this.
yeah. Well, believe it or not, it's not as excessive as you would think.
Okay.
Because another thing about this game is a lot of things are built into it with like the philosophy of cooperation. So there are items in game that people have been giving to each other for who knows how long. So there are exosuit expansion units. So you can use those to essentially unlock pretty much
Yeah,
all that space.
I had
And
those, and
yeah.
I was using the duplication glitch,
Mhm.
and I kind of maxed out my guy doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is probably a much more practical way of going about it. So, but that doesn't supercharge them. That just
Yeah,
unlocks all
no.
of them.
Yeah.
All right. So technology. This is. I'll go back to cargo here. So what I've done is I've unlocked everything and I have it all supercharged. And I think I got ahead of myself. I'm actually going to go back to cargo. We have a bunch of items already in here, which is obviously the stuff that I had when I saved it. Um,
Hmm.
this I don't want to get ahead here, but what would be the next thing here? Would you want to add to or adjust the things that you have in here? You want to talk about that?
Mm. Well, yeah. So what you can do is you can click on the item. So you can right click on it,
Mm-hmm.
and it should let you refill stack. So it will max. It will give it the maximum amount that's available in that stack.
Fill stack. Okay, so now I have 9,999 sodium.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So anything that stacks, you can do that. Which is a godsend because back in the day, S-class mods was a stack of one. Now they're a stack of 10. So,
Oh, you would have
yeah,
to have a bunch of stacks.
yeah,
Okay.
yes,
I guess
yeah.
this also depends on your save mode because when I was, or does it? Because when I was playing my permadeath challenge, the
Mhm.
stacks were a lot shorter, or a much lesser
Yes,
amount.
yes. There's ways of cheating the system. So, when we get into ships, you can export your ships. Now, for some reason, the game doesn't like to export your ships with the inventory that's already in them. So what I had to do was use another third-party system and essentially yank my ships directly from my save file without the editor, copy their inventory, and then slap it onto other ships. So now when I load them in, they have all the storage. I don't know why this editor doesn't
Okay.
do that, but it's just like that for whatever reason.
Okay. And I guess the reason why we're using this one is this is what I was using with the creature builder, and I have a link to that in the description below, and then we'll have I have another video for that, and that works
Mhm.
with this. But let's not get ahead. We'll get to that's going to be on the companions tab. And I apologize for those watching if I'm kind of expanding and minimizing the screen. This thing is acting a little funny because of my screen recording software, I think. So, all right. So you showed us how to refill stacks. Let's add in something new that we don't have.
Right.
All right. So what do we
So
do?
you go to add item.
So I'm going to right click in an empty one, hit
Yeah.
add item,
Right.
search. Okay.
Right. So the search bar is a little bit finicky. So what I do typically is I will go to the first tab where it says type. So it's substance and product.
This thing.
So which,
Oh, okay. Product or substance.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you can click on whichever one you want.
Okay.
And then next to that is category.
Okay.
So then there's like pets, tech box, so on and so forth.
Okay.
So you can click on any one of those and then items. So what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a category to where when you finally get to items, it will only show you items that fit that category.
Oh, okay. Okay. So let's
Yeah.
do. I'm under product consumables. Let's pick something here.
Yeah.
Um,
Luckily,
let's.
they're alphabetized.
Yeah. Let's do.
Yeah.
Let's look for something that would be interesting that I would normally want to look for. Um, wow, there's a lot of stuff in here I don't
Oh,
even
yeah.
recognize.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, well, let's see. All right, I don't want to be picky here. Let's just go with phase. There's phase beam module. Let's see. Wow, I'm kind of amazed how much stuff is in here. Let's do. I wanted to see what all is in here. I'm sorry. Give me a second here. Okay, suspicious movement module. There you go. I've got a suspicious movement module. So then now do I search for something?
Did you click on it?
Yeah, I did click on it. It's acting a little crazy here because of the screen recording. Let's try it
Mhm.
again. Add item. Let's do, I don't know if you can see what it's doing here. Let's just pick whatever. Let's do product, component, antimatter. There we go.
Yeah.
And then do I just hit save?
Yeah. You hit save.
Oh,
You should
okay.
pop up on
Search
that
as
site.
if you know exactly what it is you're looking for. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. So we just added antimatter. Let me try it again. Let's do, yeah, if I just use the keyboard, it seems to work a little better. Let's try substance, earth, ammonia, save. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so you can
Yeah.
add in whatever you need right there. Okay.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned a little bit earlier, the stack size will depend on what kind of like mode you're in.
Yep, the difficulty.
Luckily, I think the only distinction between modes, so custom, normal, and whatever other modes, even survival, they're all within the same world. The only exception to that are expeditions and permadeath. So permadeath players are on their own. So you're not going to find someone with like all the difficulty turned off playing with someone that's in permadeath.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that when I would go to the space anomaly, there was like me and two other people there. All right, so that we've got the cargo thing figured out. That's pretty easy to understand. Let me just switch over
Mhm.
to technology, and let's try to
Mhm.
add something here.
Yeah.
Add item.
Now,
Okay.
yeah. Now this one is has some nuances to it. So
Okay.
it follows the rule of three, at least for normal upgrades. So if you click on something, and let me just delete that. Okay. So if you go to add item,
Mm-hmm.
if you go to, I think it's suit.
There's technology, uh, and then let's
You go to,
yeah, technology,
yeah. So you go to technology, and then it's not suit. It's the other one. It's
procedural.
the yeah, procedural. So
Okay.
then if you go, it'll have all these upgrades.
Oh, okay. What's the difference between procedural and suit?
Suit, I believe, is like they're like I call them like blueprints, and they're not really like upgrades because some of them work like upgrades. Like for example, if you go to suit, you can kind of see jetpack. So jetpack is literally your jetpack. So if
Mm,
you were to erase that, you wouldn't be able to use your jetpack.
gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I see
Yeah,
jetpack life support. Okay.
yeah,
So we're gonna.
um,
So this would be like if you're adding in, for example, personal refiner. I'm gonna add that. There we go. Now I have the
yeah,
personal refiner. Okay.
yes, yeah. So they're more like blueprints or like hardware,
Okay.
so to speak, that you could add. Yeah.
So
So
we'll go to procedural. Okay.
yes. Now, the interesting thing is for upgrades, they follow the rule of three. So you can't have more than three of the same upgrade. Um, there is exceptions to the rules, and this is why I hope someday they kind of like redo the images,
Mm-hmm.
the little images of some items, because some of them have a class attached to it for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how was I thinking? Anyway, um,
Yeah, you're good. You're talking about the rule of three.
yeah. So for upgrades, if you have more than three, then it will say technology overload.
Right. I've seen that.
So yeah, so you would have to delete at least one.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where you kind of have to mess around with. So for example, I've seen people that have like three S class and then one or two B class or C class and stuff like that. So there's exceptions. Um, but as for the what we talked about before with the suit stuff, so the suit stuff you can definitely take advantage of. Typically, you cannot you in the game you can't have more than, let's say, like the cooling unit or the thermal layer, because you can only have one of those installed on your suit at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But with this you can duplicate them, and the interesting thing is they inherently give you, I think it's like 50%, I think 50 or 25%, something along those lines, of resistance to that element. So you can stack it and put multiple, technically as many as you want. So you can essentially make yourself immune just off the bat to whatever element is trying to kill you.
Okay. So let's do like I'll go to S class. Let's go to S
Mhm.
class thermal protection upgrade. So I'll add that.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's for it says S class thermal protection upgrade. It's got the snowflake on it, so that's for like cold
Mhm.
weather.
Yes.
What if I was trying to do one for like radiation? Is that a
Uh, that one, it should say right there, radiation protection upgrade.
oh, duh. Okay. All right. Don't mind
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
So, all right. So thermal is just a cold one. All right. Sorry. So I
yeah.
see they have the illegal movements upgrade, illegal life support
Hmm.
upgrade. Okay. So this is how you add your upgrades in here. Is there anything else to this that we need to know, or is that basically all there is to this tab?
Yeah. So, a lot of people would think, hey, because I guess Hello Games kind of caught on a little bit. So before I would have my backpack full of nothing but jetpack. So essentially, I was like zooming all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, that's why we tell people to back things up, because at some point I literally had my entire inventory just full of jetpacks to see what would happen, and I was just messing around because in the settings in the game before it wasn't an option, but now in game you have an option to turn off essentially everything that makes the game difficult, like like fall damage and things like that.
Right.
Um, so I didn't really need any protection. But then one day I showed up after an update, and it wouldn't let me duplicate just my regular jetpack. So I kind of had to find a way to cheat the system. So I got three S class upgrades for my backpack, and then I put the I think it's neural stimulator. I think it is, and it gives you even more a jetpack, and it's a blueprint. So for some reason, I think it has the symbol of a B class on it, but it's not a typical upgrade. It's a blueprint. because you can dismantle it and then it takes components to make it.
And what's it
So
called again?
neural
Oh, I
stimulators,
see it
I believe
here.
it's called.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
added it. Okay.
yeah. So here's the interesting part. So if you have any S class upgrade, if you click on it and you go to item details,
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. We got a new screen
all right,
here.
yeah. So the key part is that little serial number that's right there. It's after the pound sign or the hashtag sign.
I see type, category, name, ID. Oh, right after ID, hashtag
Yes, yes.
19876. Okay.
That is the item ID. So you can copy that, and so unfortunately, the save editor doesn't tell you in real time, which I really hope they add that on. But it doesn't tell you in real time the stats of this particular upgrade. So what I had to resort to was to add a whole bunch of S class upgrades and then go into the game and more or less cherry pick the best one, come into the save editor, press item details, copy that serial number, and then slap it onto all the other S class upgrades, and it would essentially make it a clone of that upgrade. So you can essentially give yourself the best stats possible.
So they're not. So if I put a bunch of these S class thermal protection upgrades, they're not all the same.
No.
So then I would have to go in the game, see which ones are good, and then if I copy and paste the hashtag to
Hmm.
whatever is the best one, then they'll all be maxed out at the best stats.
Yes.
Okay, so when you're putting one in here, it's got kind of like randomized stats, and you just can't see it from the save editor.
Yeah.
Okay, that's I understand that. Yeah, and if anybody's watching and you have questions, pop it in the chat here, and we'll answer it for you. Is there anything else we need to know about like the item detail page? Anything that would help us here?
So what you can do, let me go back to that. Besides that, I mean, there's not much that you can do. The only thing you can really change is that you can try changing the ID. I haven't messed with it particularly because most of it is like the game will let you change certain things as much as you want, but at a certain point, if the game doesn't like recognize something, it'll just flat out delete it.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's why we tell everybody, always step by step back things up and then go in game, test to see if it worked or if the game's cooperating, and just go from there. The only exception to that rule where it's like the item details are the blueprinted stuff, because the blueprinted stuff always has the same stats. You're not gonna be able to change its stats on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good to know. If you're ready, we'll move on to the multi tool.
Yep.
All right. And I think I'm seeing a theme here. I'm kind of getting the gist of it. We can right click, enable all slots, supercharge all slots. Okay.
Hmm.
And actually, let's before I jump into that, let's start over on the left here. We have multi tool name, type, class, seed,
Hmm.
damage, mining, and scan. You want to? Is there anything you want to add to about that stuff?
Yeah. So this is where things are gonna get very, very interesting. So um, you have the name, so you can change the name, obviously.
Okay.
If you click on that little bar, if you have multiple, you can see, you can select the one that you want.
Okay. So if you have
Um,
more than one multi tool, this is where you would select it. Got it.
right. So this is where I think they should have put the seed, so that jumble of numbers and letters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wish they would have put it before the whole standard and S class thing. Because you can turn pretty much any multi-tool into any other multi-tool as long as you have the seed and as long as it's within the right class. So if you click on standard, if it says standard, you have Royal, Sentinel, Sentinel B, and then Switch.
Yes.
Yeah. So Switch are just for people on Switch.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So then there's Sentinel and Sentinel B. Those are just like the Sentinel cannons.
Okay.
So there's Royal.
Yeah, I have Royal
Um,
selected on this one here. Okay.
yeah. So what you can do, let's say you want to change a regular standard multi-tool into like an exotic multi-tool, you would have to get its seed code, put it down there, go to standard, hit Royal, and then save it, and it should transform it fully into the one that you want.
So class, I would put it. Does the class matter? Or when you say standard, is that the?
Yeah, the class is what level it's at. So it's either S class, A
Okay.
class, B class, C class. Yeah.
So walk me through that again. How would I even get the seed to begin with? Would someone else have to
Okay.
have that multi tool or something?
Yes. So any multi-tool you grab. So let's say you want the same multi-tool, right? Let's say you just have this one multi-tool that you're just completely obsessed with, and you have it, but that's the only one you want to have, and you want to get rid of all your other ones. You can just delete them with that little bar in the corner. But let's say some people, they like to, I want this multi-tool multiple times because I want this one to be a shotgun, this one to be a mining tool, this one, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Like a different
Right.
build on each one.
Yes, yes. So typically I'd be like, just hit export. It'll put it in a little folder, and you can just import it back in as many times as you want, duplicating it. Some people, they kind of want to just make things a little more, extra steps. So you can just do the process of copying the seed, going to your next multi-tool. If you
Mm-hmm.
know that this multi-tool you want to copy is, let's say, just a standard one, or is, a royal, or I think biological multi-tools, they also count as standard multi-tools, I believe.
Okay.
Um,
So
so
I have 0 and 1 because I have two multi tools in this save. What if I want to add a
mhm.
third one? Do I have? Can I do that from here?
Yeah, yeah, you can just so whichever one you want to duplicate, you can just duplicate it. So you can export it and then import it, and I believe you can have
Oh,
like, yeah,
okay, I got you. So I would export.
yeah.
My screen's acting up here. I can export it
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then re-import it back in, and that will add another multi-tool.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if I knew someone else that was using a save editor and they had an Epic
Mm-hmm.
multi-tool, they could give me their
Mm-hmm.
seed and I could get that same multi-tool?
Yeah, they could do that, or they could just flat out send you that file. Because when you export it, it makes a little file, and they can just send it to you through Discord, and you can just copy it and then put it in your little folder and just import it.
Oh wow. Okay, so you can
Yeah.
literally share the multi-tool file. You can
Yes.
export it and share it.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay. All right. So and then damage, mining, and scan. That seems pretty
Yeah.
self-explanatory, but do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. So don't go over a certain threshold when it comes to damage.
Okay.
um, because the game has that thing where it's like you break it to the point where you pass this certain threshold where essentially the game is like, yes, you're essentially destroying everything, but I don't know what to do with this information, so I'm just gonna mark it down like you're not doing anything. So you could run into a situation where you're doing like billions of damage, but nothing's happened because the game's just like, nope.
Yeah, it can't handle it. It's like this is too much.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
do you know what the thresholds are for that?
yeah. So this one has, I think it has, this save editor has its own limiter. I think it's like 10,000, I think, but I was able to brute force it with a hex editor to have, I think it's, let's see, that's 90,000. So my damage, mining, and scanning is at 90,000. But it's not actually going to stay like that because you also have to factor in your upgrades. So your
Oh
upgrades,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
they do, yeah, they upgrade by percentage, most of them. So you'll very, very quickly end up thinking that you're maybe doing like say 90,000 damage, but you end up pushing it into like the millions.
Wow. Okay. So this is before your upgrades.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I'm gonna apologize to anyone in the stream. The software is acting a little funny, so that's why I have to keep maximizing it and minimizing it to get it to look normal again.
Hmm.
So there are limits to damage, mining, and scan. Anything else we need to know
Hmm.
about that before we move on?
For that, not really.
Okay.
It doesn't make a huge, huge difference. I don't know if the scanning also increases the amount of credits you get when you actually scan an object. Because I
Okay.
never really needed money, as you could tell.
Right.
So I never really paid attention to that factor, but it may be a factor. It may be a factor that the because the scanning is also the range. So
If
it might
you're
just
in
be that
here
you're
using a save editor, we'll just assume you don't care about money at this point. You
yeah,
can give yourself
yeah,
infinite money. So,
yeah. Well, sometimes it's like it's a good thing to factor in because again, most of this people are doing to kind of help out other people. So, for example, if you have someone that's not really tech savvy and knows like the bare minimum and doesn't really want to get into like the whole technicality of things,
mhm.
they could just be like, "Oh, could you just send me your multi tool? You know, so I can just slap it in there and I can make my money that way." So there are a few folks that are like that.
Okay. Let me fix something on the disk on the my Streamlabs real quick,
Hmm.
and then we'll move on to uh, the multi-tool slots. So I noticed the way I have this set up, it's not showing the windows that pop open like when I open up, um, the tool select and whatnot. So let me just alter that real quick. I'm going to go from window capture to, let's see, where's screen display capture,
Hmm.
and let's add that. There we go. And let's minimize this. Okay, so that should look a little bit better. So now they should be able to see uh, the actual add item here. So I right clicked and I'm adding an item.
Hmm.
And we have technology. Is there anything else? No, just technology. There's category. So this is the same as the exosuit. We have
Hmm.
procedural, and weapon.
Yep.
What's the difference here? Weapon is like what your base weapons, and procedural is your upgrades. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start off with weapon, and then I'll go to item. Let's add a blaze javelin. So there I go. I just added a blaze javelin.
Hmm.
And now let's add an upgrade for it. Add item. Technology. Yep. And then procedural. So now I could look for probably like an S class or even a legal class blaze javelin upgrade.
Yes.
So what I could do is I could add a whole bunch of these illegal blaze javelin upgrades. I could fill this up with a bunch of those, and
Hmm.
then I'll load up the game and see which ones are the best. And I could probably just delete them from the game and save them, the ones that I don't want, so I don't get confused. And then
Hmm.
copy. I would right click on this. I want to show it again because they might not have seen this. So I could go to item details, and then on the right here next to ID, I have the ID number pound 07923. And then I would copy that and paste that into, well, I guess I wouldn't want to delete the other Blaze Javelin upgrades. So then I could paste this copy ID into all of those, and then they would all share the same stats, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So that's a good thing to know. That would be very helpful. Is there anything else
Hmm.
that would help that we need to talk about with this, or is this basically the same as the exosuit?
Yeah. So it's basically the same as the exosuit, but there are, as always, a few caveats.
Okay.
So an example would be so the multi-tool, certain components or upgrades for the multi-tool, they have extra functionality. So they have recoil. If you duplicate the blaze javelin, the damage might get like substantially higher, but at the cost of you're gonna have recoil that makes your character look like he's breaking himself in half. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, because I learned that one the hard way. Um, because I wanted to see, and then they have other effects, like for example, the mining beam, as far as I know, has no
Like
recoil.
variation. Oh, no recoil.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it has no recoil. It doesn't vibrate or anything. So when I added multiple of the mining beam, what it did was it put it on the verge of overheating, but it doesn't overheat anymore. So when you're holding down the multi-tool, as it gets hotter, it actually starts to do more damage. But at a certain point, it does that animation where like, oh, it's burning my hand, that kind of thing.
So I
Um,
think the general theme, if I'm understanding it here, is the save
mhm.
editor would just let you go completely buck wild, But if you do that, the game might start acting a little funny if you just go completely overboard with this stuff.
Yes, because like I mentioned when we talked earlier, it's a lot of this is more of like how to drive a car, where it's like a feel to it and not just oh the book says, you know. So a lot of it is like trial and error, testing things out. So my mining beam, instead of turning out green and then slowly turning into like a yellow and then a red, it just automatically shoots red and it doesn't overheat anymore and it does a bunch of damage. Also, it has a higher rate of fire, so it just made my beam substantially stronger.
Okay. Um, all right, good. So we're good with the multi-tool
Hmm.
slot here, right? We want to move on to ships.
Yep, yep.
All right, so we're in ships here. So this is my starship. We'll start off on the left. Fighter, obviously, if you have more than one ship, you would have
Hmm.
them listed here. I only have the one. You can name it.
Hmm.
Oh, you can choose the type. All right.
Yep.
Class, seed, and then we have health, shield, damage, shields, hyperdrive, maneuverability. So let me ask you something. Um, let's say I have this seed, which is my ship that I have right now. That's the seed code
Hmm.
here. If I change the class or the type, do I need to generate like a new seed or something? Or does the seed, like, how does that work?
Yeah. So typically the seed code is randomly generated. Now, there are other programs out there that will allow you to kind of make your own ship, but unfortunately, at the moment, you have to pay for those.
Okay.
Um,
So
yeah,
we're
so
not going to be doing that.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, but here's the interesting thing is because so there is kind of like a set number um of seed codes theoretically. Um, the other part of it is like I mentioned, they have Hello Games has a philosophy: if it isn't broke, don't fix it. So if you were to change the class to something else, it will change the type of ship, but it will give you that type of ship with that seed code.
Okay. So, but it's cosmetically, it would still look the exact same, right?
No, it would change the whole ship. So you would go from being an explorer
Oh.
to a hauler, but it would be like so it's like imagine your designation is like 001
Okay.
and my designation is 001, but I'm a hauler and you're a fighter. So if you just so happen to be a fighter and you change it into a hauler, it will change you into me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, this, so you're, when, if I go messing with this and I change it from a fighter or I change any of this stuff, when I load back into the game, I'm going to see a different ship there.
Yes.
Let's do it. Um, let's do living. You're about to change a ship type to living. Are you sure? Note any incompatible technology installed on the ship will be deleted. Okay. So I changed it to living. Let's give it an S
Mhm.
class. Do I need to generate a new seed or do I need to mess with that at all? Or
As far as I know, you don't have to.
okay.
Yeah, because seed codes are essentially like universal in a
Okay.
sense.
So we're good with that. So I just switched out from a Class C fighter to a Class S living ship. Let me save it. So when we're done with all this stuff, we're gonna load in and see all the damage I did and see what the game is like.
Mhm.
Health, shield, damage. Why do I say shields twice? Shield, shields, hyperdrive, maneuverability. You want to add to anything on there? Anything we need to talk
Yeah.
about?
So there's normal shields and regular shields. There's like the health in general. So stuff like that. I mean, as far as I know, that's like something that they added, for whatever reason. Um, some stuff kind of becomes obsolete because other things overwrite it. So, for example, my health is at 500 and then my shield is at 200. But if I go to where I had my other shield, it's at like 9.99999 to the power of E11, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that overrides the other shield. So even though this one's at 200, the other shield essentially takes priority.
So shields with an S. I could put 9,999.
Well, this save editor has that cap, so it has that safety net.
Okay.
Yeah, me, I was able to brute force it with another program, a hex editor directly, and just made it. I think it was like a trillion. I think I put just to see what would happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
The same thing with the damage of the multi tools is when she passed a certain threshold, it would just be like, nope, you're not doing anything. So you would have to like tone it down a little bit.
okay.
Yeah.
And then hyperdrive is 0, maneuverability is 10. I get maneuverability. That makes sense. What's the hyperdrive?
Yeah. So the hyperdrive is the distance you can travel when you warp. So you know how it's like you can only go to a couple stars of distance.
Mm-hmm.
When you increase that, you can essentially go all the way across the galaxy and back as many times as you want,
Wow. Okay.
without any issue.
Okay.
Now, yeah, now that does not affect, as far as I know, it does not affect your fuel usage. That's what the upgrades are for. Um, but
So you would still need a
um,
lot of fuel.
Um, theoretically, yes, because there are other things you can do to kind of mitigate that. You can essentially make it where it doesn't use any fuel whatsoever. Sometimes the game cooperates and does kind of things for you. Like, for example, my freighter, when I increased its warp distance, it essentially took no fuel, like at all. But when I switched over to PC, my warp distance is still the same, but it still uses like a minuscule amount of fuel. So there's like little tiny differences that can just pop up. Sometimes it's just the game just being the game, and there's no real explanation for it, and you can try to work your way around it. But I mean, best not to look a gift horse in the mouth.
Sure.
Yeah. Um, one big word of warning: do not increase your mobility. I believe past 75. The only exception to that rule, I believe, are the living ships. The living ships, their mobility can increase to 100. Um, if for any other ship, if you go past 75, it will literally ricochet you across the solar system.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this
Um,
ties into the theme. Don't go overboard with this stuff. Any
yeah.
of the settings or upgrades you're adding in there, or else you're gonna have some uh, undesirable side effects.
Yeah. I don't know why the mobility does that. I mean, it's and this is just regular normally flying. As far as I know, you can still pulse drive just fine. But if you're just trying to make like a sharp turn or just go straight normally, it will start like pinballing you off planet. It's
Sure.
weird.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So let's go over to the middle here. I've got two options here. I've got storage, sacks,
Mhm.
organ chambers. That's because I picked living ship.
Yes.
Had I not done
Yeah.
that, I would have had different options here, right?
Yeah.
So
So you
storage
can.
sacks is that's the storage. Organ chamber is for
Hmm.
your upgrades, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So.
same as the other ones, I'll right click. I will enable all slots. Let's
Hmm.
supercharge them all, right? Let's go crazy
Hmm.
here. And then I'll right click. Let's add an item. Try to do this with my keyboard. It's really acting funny for me. I don't know if it does that for you too. So I have category living ship, all ship, or procedural.
Hmm.
Maybe living ship wasn't the best option here. Do you think we can work with this?
Well, yeah, I would actually say this is a better option.
Okay.
Because yeah, so for the storage, so living ships, their upgrades, you have to farm them, essentially by just pulse driving around inside solar systems, until it gives you like that indicator of anomaly detected. And when you stop, there'll be like a
Mm,
floating egg in front of you. You'll shoot it, it'll give you a random upgrade.
okay.
Luckily, luckily, once you install them, you can use nanites to then evolve them from one class to the next.
Okay, so should I be in the, let's do that. Should I be in the storage sacks or the organ chamber?
Storage sacks.
Storage sack. Okay, so we're here. So let's right click and add an item, right?
Hmm.
And then we'll go to type. We have products or substance. Which one should I pick?
I believe that one should be products, I think. Let me double
Product.
check
Let's
that.
see. For product, we have
Come
components,
on.
consumable,
Come on.
curiosity, pet. You can add a pet.
It's product. and then two components, I believe.
You know what?
No, not
I
components.
think, I'm not sure if it's store check. Let's try organ chamber. I think that might be where your add item, living ship, and then for living ship, I have Artemis figure. Oh, these are figurines. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So
Oh,
so the
oh,
figurines actually give you little bonuses.
okay. Here we go. So for the living ship, I have chloroplast membrane, gafted eyes, neural assembly, neural
Mhm.
shielding. Is this the stuff you're talking about? Scream
Uh,
suppressor.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. Um, let's add wormhole brain. I don't even know what that is. Okay. So there we go. We have a wormhole brain. Now, I don't know living ship, so I don't know what I need to add in here.
Yeah. So typically, well, since you transferred over, since you turned one ship into another,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really have any of the stuff in there.
Yeah, it's blank.
Uh, yeah. So the screen suppressor is the shield. The neural assembly is the landing and takeoff. The
Oh, okay, okay. This is all like your basic
Yeah,
gear for
your
your.
basic hardware. Yeah,
All right, all right, all right. So
yeah, yeah.
I would need to add all this in.
Yes.
Okay.
So the one thing I think that you added in
Oops.
was one of the immature parts, because during the quest, like the quest literally takes you about a week if you don't cheat the system,
Okay.
um, because you go from one solar system to the next, and then as you're traveling, it will give you these like components to collect,
Okay.
and it will give you components of the living ship, and they take about a day each to mature. So you have to wait 24 hours for each part to fully mature. So then you can unlock the next step of the quest, and that's why it takes you a whole damn week.
Okay.
Um,
So what's going to happen
yeah.
if I do this now in the save
Nothing.
editor here? Oh, okay. All right.
Nothing.
So it'll already
Yeah.
be matured and ready to go.
No.
Okay.
So yeah. So the parts only mature while you're taking part in the quest.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's essentially you don't need those two little gray looking things.
I don't even have this quest in my queue. I don't even have this going on the save that I'm using right now. So this could be one of
Yeah.
those things where I have some undesirable effect here, maybe.
As far as I know, no.
Okay.
Back in the day, yes, most definitely, because they were marked as an essential item, and people. This is why I tell everybody to test things before you do something, because you have what I call good people with bad habits,
Okay.
and in a sense, they wanted to help their buddies. Hey, man, I have this, this part of the quest component completely grown, and I'm thinking I can save you time, but just giving it to you and then reloading my save. But because it's part of that quest and it's considered an essential item, if the item you have doesn't match that part in the quest, it will prevent you from using it, and even worse, prevent you from getting rid of it because it will continuously come back. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Okay. That's when you need to
Yeah,
go in and probably like delete that chip or start over or something, I guess.
yeah. The As far as I know, the only way to get rid of them in game, right? If you don't have a save editor in game, is to put that component in a ship and then scrap that ship.
Wow. So let's not do that. So while you're
Yeah,
talking, I went ahead and added all the main components: gafted eyes, chloroplast membrane, wormhole brain, all that stuff.
yeah. So
Um,
the
let's.
the chloroplast membrane, that one you can get rid of.
Oh, okay.
The wormhole brain and the neural shielding.
Neural shielding.
Those like three gray ones in the middle
Got it.
after the blue brain. You can get rid of all those three because those are the immature parts. So you can just
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So
yeah,
yeah, now I have the remaining six items here.
yeah.
So I'm also learning about living ships. I know we're doing a save editor, but I don't know anything about living ships. So I added all
No,
the
well,
main
this is part.
components.
This is
So
part of it.
okay, good.
Um,
So what
yeah.
would I do from here? Would I continue
Uh,
adding items?
okay. Um, I mean, as far as I know, you can. But Because, like, for example, if you were to duplicate whatever item is there multiple times, it
Mm-hmm.
would give you a significant boost, but it would be irrelevant because you can just edit the stats here on the side.
Oh, okay, yeah, our base stats.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
makes perfect sense.
yeah.
So anything else we want to add to that we want to talk about with the organ chamber before I switch over to the storage?
Let me see. So same rule applies, same rule of three. Same thing with the little hashtag number where it's the item ID, and you can just, duplicate it,
Okay.
slap it onto all the upgrades. It'll give you all the good stuff.
Okay.
What else? What else? That's pretty much it. As far as I know, if you were to duplicate items, they might have other secondary effects, like making your fuel use less and less to the point where it literally has, no no fuel usage.
Wow. Okay.
Um, so you could definitely do that. So you can do a combination of both. You can edit the stats raw on the side and then duplicate items in here, and they kind of stack off each other. It's not 100% if it'll work or not. It's kind of like I mentioned, a trial and error kind of situation.
Right. So this is one of those things where we're showing you how to fiddle with this stuff, but you'll have to go
Hmm.
in there and really see what what works and doesn't work, or alter it as you need to. So it looks like you're gonna have to do a lot of tinkering with this stuff
Yeah,
to get it right.
yeah.
Um, okay.
A lot of it is unavoidable simply because it's a consequence of how the game is.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, you would think, hey, I added a number two here on this ship. It
Mm-hmm.
should work the same here, and it works just fine. But when you get to the third one, it's like, nope, and you're like, what? And sometimes it's literally as simple as it wants you to move that ship into a different slot. Like it's so weird.
Okay.
Some of the reactions you get in this game.
So while we're talking about that, if anyone's jumping in, we're going through the save editor for No Man's Sky. I'm talking with Mercenary, who's I don't know, should I say expert with save editor? I mean, you sure are pretty knowledgeable
Uh,
about it.
I would say experienced.
Very
Uh,
experienced, and so we're doing this live right now. If you have questions about anything that we're talking about or anything we can help with, drop it in the chat, and we'll try to answer it for you. All right, let's keep going. So storage, you ready to go to storage? I mean, I think it's kind of a common theme here. Add
yeah,
item.
yeah. There are themes that just repeat themselves. But it's a good thing that you picked a living ship because as I was mentioning the upgrades.
Oh yeah, upgrades.
So yeah, so when you encounter that floating egg as you're pulse driving with your living ship around,
Hmm.
it will give you a random upgrade. Now the downside to that is there are some S-class upgrades for living ships that will never drop. They're just not, I guess, in the drop box or drop list, I guess you could call it.
Like the item pool
Uh,
or whatever.
yeah, yeah. I don't know why. I was hunting for them for so long because I was like, I just wanted to get one of each and then duplicate it. And then a buddy of mine was like, "No, man, it doesn't drop. The only way to get them is through a save editor." I'm like, "Damn." So that's what I did. Um,
Okay, so you're not going to be able to even get that in the game, but you can get it here.
yeah. Well, you can get it, just not as S class. You can get it C class. You can get
Right,
it
that's what
A
I mean.
class.
So
Yeah,
let's
but you.
let's add one in here. Let's go to uh, procedural, right? What about
Um,
illegal class? Is that something I can add here too? Because isn't illegal? Oh, there is no illegal class. Okay, never mind.
yeah,
So S class. I don't even know what Gafted Eye is. Is that like your laser beam or whatever your
yeah,
weapon? Okay.
yeah.
So S class Gafted Eyes node. All right, this is acting funny here. So, and I did it in the wrong slot. I can't. Can I just grab? I can't. Oh, I can. I can just grab and
Yeah,
drag
yeah,
stuff around. Okay, cool.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. Just don't don't make the mistake of dragging them over each other because they will delete each other.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just be careful where you're dragging and
Yeah,
drop it. And you can also do that in
yeah,
the game too. You can move this stuff around while you're in the game, so that's not a big deal.
yeah.
All right. So there are I think we've covered this. Anything else you want to add to about organ chamber, upgrades?
Um, well, no, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, they have like the same philosophy of if it ain't
The
broke,
rule
don't
of
fix.
three.
So,
Oh yeah.
yep, yeah.
Storage sacks. I I'm pretty sure. We'll just we'll add a quick item here,
Hmm.
just to show real quick how it works. Product or substance.
Yeah.
Let's do product. Let's do curiosity. Active void egg. There you go. I just added a void egg to my my living
So
ship. Okay.
yeah, so I would avoid that.
Oh, don't do
Um,
that. Okay.
yeah. So that's the thing. The game will give you access. Well, the save editor will give you access to items in the game. Not just a item, but said item in different stages. So again, it's a lot of people trying to cheat the system. I'll refer back to what I said before, where it's good people with bad habits, and they go, oh well, the last part of the living ship quest, it's like a cracking egg or an active egg or whatever kind of egg. So I'll just give it to you, and that should fast track you to the end. Like no, because then you run
Okay.
into the same situation where you can't get rid of it.
Right.
Luckily, it's not like that anymore. Luckily, it's not like that anymore. Um, the game will let you delete these items
Okay.
because it spread like wildfire. People giving each other things that they're not supposed to be giving each other. And I
Oh,
don't blame them because it was an option. It's an option. Like I mean, if you click on an item, it lets you send it to your friend, and you don't see the harm of it because it's letting you do it.
yeah.
But yeah, it was bad. It was
Okay.
bad.
So I just picked an Atlas pass here just to show you.
Mhm.
It works the same as the Exosuit multi tool. I'm pretty sure this is basically how it's going to work from here on out.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to talk about with storage on ships? Or are you ready to move on to squadron?
No, I mean, same thing. You can just upgrade all the storage, unlock all of it, so on and so forth.
Yeah. All right. So I'm on squadron. I don't know anything
Mhm.
about squadrons in the game, so I'm going to be kind of clueless here in the editor. I have wingman one, two, three, and four.
Yep, yep. Okay, so the interesting thing is so if you click on it, you can click the kind of race that you want, and then you can click on type.
Okay, so I'm gonna enable it. Uh,
Mm,
NPC race, Viking, Korvax, or Gek. Let's go
yeah,
with Korvax.
yeah,
NPC seed. Do I just leave that blank or hit
yeah.
generate?
So you can, yeah, well, you can generate it. I mean, it's just like whatever you selected, it's kind of like re-rolling the skin. So it'll just give you like a random skin of that
Hmm.
whatever character within that race category.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
And then we have ship type and ship
yeah,
seed.
yeah. So same thing, like a regular ship. You could pick a hauler, explorer, shuttle, fighter, exotic, living, solar, Europa speeder, golden vector, horizons vector, then robot. Robot are the sentinel, the sentinel
Okay.
ships.
Okay.
Yeah, the sentinel interceptors. Yeah, and then you could generate, and it will randomly generate a random ship within that category. Or you could go to one of your ships, copy that seed, and then slap it in there so you can give one of your squadron members your ship.
Very cool. So we could all be flying the same ship, like literally the
Yes,
exact same ship.
yes.
Okay, that's
The
cool.
yeah. The only exception to that rule is that ball ship that I have
Yes.
because it's already weird. Its category is literally unknown. And then um I've tried doing it, I call it manually in the game,
Mm-hmm.
where so what you can do is you can go to a pilot that's in the space station hangar bay, whatever it is, talk to them, and if it lets you hire them as like in your squadron,
Mm-hmm.
you can you can trade their ship with your ship, and then you can hire them, and they should be flying your ship when you hire them. Now, if you try that with the ball ship, your game will instantly crash the moment you try to spawn them in.
Wow. Okay.
I
Give us a little bit more background about the ball ship. I know what you're talking about, and it's in
Yeah,
one of my first live streams of No Man's Sky. But give us a little background for anyone who hasn't seen that.
yeah. So it's essentially just the cockpit of an explorer. Um, it was like a little while ago where kind of like I mentioned, I'm gonna try to stay away from like as much negative topics, but it is part of like the history of the game. So um, at some point, people started getting more and more into like the save editing and the hex and the JSON and so on and so forth, and they started making cool things.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, because I'm not the first one to make one, but someone ended up making a ball ship. I think they started first with like exotics. So it's like an exotic without any of the components. It's just the cockpit. And then the same thing for the squid ship, which is also another exotic. And then eventually they started implementing the same thing to other ships. It just turned out that the cockpit of the Explorer looks really, really cool on its own. Um, so people were kind of like hoarding that.
Okay.
um, you know. And I remember, I specifically remember reaching out to a few folks who had one, and I'm like, hey, you guys think you could share that info with me? And they're like, no. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, well, just to let you know, I know you don't know anything about me, but I know everything about myself, obviously. I'm gonna take this as a challenge. So you can either give it to me now and we can cooperate, or I can do it myself and tell you to take a hike when I surpass you.
Yeah.
Take your pick. And they unfortunately they chose the latter. So I made one and started getting more and more into it, trying to outdo them, uh, you know, brute forcing stats and things like that, and then finding a way to keep the inventory, so ripping it out of one ship, putting it into another, so that way every single time I load them in and I import them, it has all the storage. Um,
Wow.
and and then these same people reached out to me, and they're like, "Hey, you think nope?"
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's not how we're doing things here with the Captain General channel. This is, for me, this is a community. We're here to help each other out. That's one of the reasons why Mercenary and I are working together on this video, so we can share the information. We're not, let's help each other out and have a good time playing No Man's Sky, right?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely,
All right,
absolutely.
cool. So, Wingman, I filled out everything here. I think the only slot we're missing here is pilot rank.
Yeah. So essentially, it's just like a random rank. It just gives them like a high stat in something. I haven't gone too deep into it because I know there's like multiple stats, and I'm pretty sure I can like max them all out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's essentially whether they're going to be an S class like squadron member or not. They
Okay.
do, as far as I know, they do upgrade as you get into combat. Like as you kill enemies with them, they slowly, rank up like
Hmm.
frigates do.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. Anything else we need to add here to Squadron, or are we good?
Not much. It's pretty straightforward.
So now we've hit the first tab that is grayed out. Freighter. I don't have a freighter.
Yeah.
This is a new save. So what would we do
hmm
now?
So you could just grab whatever random freighter and just like a ship, you can turn it into any other freighter that you want. But it's pretty self-explanatory. They have the first tab is tiny, small, normal, and capital. That's just the size.
So real
Then
quick,
there,
I don't want to interrupt you, but if
yeah,
if I don't have the option for a freighter here in the save editor, I would
mhm,
basically have to go in the game and get a freighter that way, and then come
yep.
back to the save editor. I can't like initiate that here, right?
As far as I know, you can, but there's kind of like there's like a whole process to it.
Okay.
And we'll get that when because next to on the top left corner, there's file and edit,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's raw JSON, edit raw JSON.
Yep, I saw that when I was messing with the creature editor. Okay. Here, I'll
Yeah,
I'll try
yeah.
to do it
So
if it'll let me. Let's see. Open or edit raw JSON. Okay, yeah, I have it open.
mhm, okay. Then you're gonna have these little folders. So there's players, state data, and so on and so forth. So if
Mm-hmm.
you click on that little arrow, it shows you everything that is encompassed within that category.
Okay.
And if you go down to where you start seeing freighter this, freighter inventory, freighter cargo, that stuff like that.
Got it.
Um,
I see current
so
freighter.
yeah, so you have like current freighter. So if you were to click on that, so there's file name, seed, and all that stuff.
Yes. Okay.
So Yeah. So if you have a seed, you could type that in. You could also just like roll the dice and just type in a random set of letters and numbers, and something might pop out. Most likely, something will pop out.
Hmm.
Um, just note that every seed always starts with 0x.
Well, to keep things simple, since this is like an introductory, maybe we'll say go get a freighter in the game,
Yes.
and then come back to
Yes.
this. We'll save the more advanced stuff for later on.
Yeah.
So when you see something grayed out here, like in my situation, freighter, because I picked a new save. You know what I could do?
Hmm.
Um, no, let's not go that route. I was going to change save files, but we've already done a lot here. So, anyways, what
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
saying is that freighter and frigates, that's all grayed out. So you would go in the game and get them. So
Hmm.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. So you go ahead and tell us a little about the freighter tab. I can't show it, but tell us
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing as like for ships. So if you were in freighter, the first thing is just the name,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the first tab says tiny, small, normal, and capital. That's just the size. Capital ships are obviously the biggest ones.
Okay.
Then there is what class it is: S class, A class, B class, C class, self-explanatory. And then there's the seed,
Right.
right?
Okay. We talked
Right.
about
So
seeds.
there's
Okay.
Yeah, so there's for this one it has the home seed. So that's essentially the system that it comes from, right?
Okay.
So I mean it's not a necessary thing. It's just like an extra bit of information.
Okay.
It's not it doesn't really matter. And then there is model seed. So the model seed is like I believe it's like the actual seed of the freighter. So if you can get any seed from any other freighter, slap it in here, it should turn whatever freighter you have into that freighter. Simple.
Okay.
Then you have hyperdrive and fleet coordinates.
Okay.
The hyperdrive, same thing. You can just increase it to a Uber number and just decide to go across the galaxy with no problem. Fleet coordinates, I'm not necessarily sure what exactly that does. But mine is capped at 1,000. I can brute force it higher, but I've never really noticed any kind of difference. And then there's base info item parts, but you can't really change that. I think that just tells you how many parts are in your freighter base, I believe.
Okay.
Everything else is like the same. There's cargo, technology, same thing. You can just add upgrades and whatnot, supercharge everything, unlock all the slots. Same thing as the ship.
Can you do anything as far as cosmetics, like your actual layout that like you build in your, you know what I'm talking about, in your freighter, like when we were looking at your freighter, you had the skulls
Mhm.
inside of there and all that stuff, or is
Yeah.
that this can you do any of that stuff with the save editor?
No, because that you would have to place in manually.
Okay,
Um,
so
tech. So, well, actually, I'll digress because it is possible. It is possible for you to place things down within the save editor, but you would have to essentially go to edit, edit raw JSON, and then go to your freighter, and then go to bases. So you would have to go to, I believe it is right about, no, it's right here. So you would have to go to bases, or is it no?
you're in
There you
the
go.
edit raw JSON,
Yeah.
JSON. Okay.
So
Uh,
I would have to go to that, and then the player data. Scroll down to where it says, I think it's present player bases.
player
It's
bases.
it's it's right above where it says chest loadout inventory over and over again. It's like
I
chest one,
see
chest two.
persistent player bases.
Yes, that one. There you go.
Okay.
Okay. So
Mine is
each
blank.
one of those, yeah, yeah. So each one of those, so number 0 should be the first base you've ever had.
Okay.
Mine was my freighter, so that's why it's on top. Sometimes,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So if you click on something like that, and then you're gonna see all this random gobbledygook.
Okay.
Okay. So you know how some of them have like at the very top it should say base version whatever's a number, and then original base version whatever number, galactic address whatever number, and then it starts saying position, and then it should have like these like random numbers. I
Okay.
think for you it should be like 0.0, something like that.
Mine is blank because this save I haven't even built
Mhm.
a single base, so it's completely empty.
Okay. Um, so essentially for me, it has like for example, this this is one item, right? So this one item, it says position,
Mm-hmm.
and then the position is 170.5 something 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 something, and then it goes comma 231 dot something 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 comma, and then negative 292 point something 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 something
I'm
something,
guessing these are
and
like
that's
XYZ coordinates.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So unless you know exactly, uh, to literally the let's see, you would have to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So you would have to do I don't even know what integer that would be, but essentially to the 11th or 12th integer, if, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You know what?
yeah,
I think I got a sense of this. This is gonna go
yeah,
way beyond like introductory stuff.
yeah,
It's not.
yeah,
Let's go. Let's keep it not simple, but let's not get that far into the nitty gritty here
right,
because I feel like
yeah.
it could. The answer is it can be done.
But it's
Um,
not worth the it's
it's
not worth the
almost
effort.
not worth the trouble.
It's not
Yeah,
worth the
there
effort.
you go.
Like not at all.
Okay. So that was the answer to the question if you can mess with the base building. You were going through the freighter. Was there anything else you wanted to add about the freighter tab before we go on to frigates?
Nothing else really. I mean, it's all self-explanatory.
Yeah, I think at this
If you
point we got
already
the theme of how to add
yeah,
items and whatnot. Okay.
yeah. So long story short, if you can do ships, you can do freighters.
There
No
you go.
problem whatsoever.
All right. Let's do frigates. I again this is grayed out so I can't show it.
Right.
But go ahead and tell us about
So
that.
yeah, so all it will have is it'll have this box here on the left, and it will have all your frigates lined up from one or well all 30 of them because you can
Hmm.
have 30 frigates.
Okay.
It will tell you it will have the name, the type, and the class. Next to that, you got freighter info. You have name. So I mean, you can click on it and it'll tell you the name.
Hmm.
Then it will tell you next to that is the type. So there's combat, exploration, mining, diplomacy, support, Normandy, deep space command.
Okay.
Um, so so the Normandy is like the Normandy from Mass Effect.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can have like 30 Normandies if you want,
Wow.
just floating around your base. There's also like living. I think that's deep space.
Okay.
You can have like living frigates.
Yeah, I
Those ones
just
you
got
can
one of
get
those
like
in the game too.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah. So you can you can duplicate that. You can duplicate all that. So below that, there's class as class, and then NPC race type. So you could have traders, warriors, and explorers. So that's really doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Then there's home seed. The home seed really doesn't matter. You could just leave that as 0x0, or you could just put whatever thing, or it's automatically gonna have something in there if you just picked it up in a random solar system. So you shouldn't have to worry about that. And then there's model seed, which is just the seed code. So if you have like let's say you have an explorer type um, frigate, and it's all white, and you want it to be green, right? So you would find one that is already green, just copy that seed code, slap it onto the other one, and it would just change its color. It also kind of changes the model, so it'll make it a copy of it.
So it's just the cosmetics.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So then there's traits. You can pick up to 5 traits,
Okay.
but they really don't mean anything. Like for the Normandy, there's like deep, deep scout prototype, and then Talos drive and whatnot. It just gives you like a little bonus to its overall stats, which are over here on the right. So on the far right side it says stats, then it's combat, exploration, industry, trading, cost per warp, uh, ex, let's see, cost per warp,
I just thought of
and then
something. Let
expedition
just
fuel.
I could temporarily jump over to another save
Mm,
and let's see if I can at least. There we go. Now I can see. We're on freighters, right? Or
yeah,
frigates? No, we're on frigates. So I can at
frigates, yeah,
least
frigates.
show. Okay, there we go. I'm not going to play with this because this is my main
Yeah,
save. But at least I have it on the screen now. Okay, sorry about that. Go
yeah,
ahead.
a point of reference. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
if you can, yeah,
Anything else?
there you go.
What do we need
There
to?
we go.
Anything else you want
There
to
we
talk
go.
about here?
Okay. So we're on the far right side. So, you have all these stats, combat, exploration, industry, all the way down to expedition, fuel cost, and duration, and all that stuff.
Yep.
So, some of these are very straightforward. So, combat, you can increase that. Mine are all at 50, except for warp cost, because if you increase cost per warp, it'll make it more expensive. So I have that at 0. So it literally costs me no fuel.
Wow.
Um,
Nice. Okay.
same thing, yeah, same thing for expedition fuel cost, same thing, 0. Now, this one kind of caught me off guard, and this is why sometimes you just have to like, trial and error testings. So it says expedition duration. So you would think at 0 it would, there and back real quick,
Yep.
but it's actually the opposite. So,
Okay.
um,
Zero is like the
yeah,
base, like when if you don't have any perks or
yeah.
whatever.
Yes, 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 yes. So, um, so I have it at 50. The weird thing about that is, so when you send multiple frigates, all their stats stack together, right? So it kind of combines them into one frigate and then sends them on a mission.
Right.
That's essentially how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And if you send one frigate with like the maximum amount, at least for me, because you can do it higher, but I just left it at 50
Mm-hmm.
of expedition duration, it will still take a while. It will still take a while for them to come back. But if you send multiple, they would literally come back faster than you can send them out.
So you just click send and they're back.
Yeah, yeah, you'll send them,
Okay.
and as you're picking your next squad, they'll come back. Like it's
Wow.
crazy fast.
Okay.
Um, right. So then you got damage reduction. So that one I have at maximum, and then you have stealth. So I think stealth is like it's like one of those stats where it determines how often they'll have like complications.
Makes sense.
Um, so I just maxed that out. But I mean, when every other stat is maxed out as well, I mean, no one's gonna come and mess with your frigates. I mean,
Right. You're fine
I barely
anyways
miss it.
at that point,
Right.
but okay.
Um, yeah, and then the bottom stats are essentially just an overall total of how many expeditions you sent them on, how many were successful, how many failed, how many times they were damaged. So that really doesn't mean anything. It's just one like a scoreboard essentially.
Oh, okay. All right. So
Yep.
we're not worried about that. I don't want to rush you. We're already at an hour and a half, so
Mhm.
let's go through like the main key points. So do we need anything else about frigates or are we on to vehicles?
No, we're on to vehicles because I mean that's pretty much it.
All right, so I'm gonna switch back to the one I was editing,
Mhm.
and I don't know if it's just me, but this save editor is really glitching out visually. All right, so I'm in vehicles. Let's see. All right, I have the type on the left here: Roamer, Nomad, Colossus,
Mhm.
Pilgrim, Nautilon, Minotaur. This save, I don't have any vehicles. Does that
Mhm.
is that why is that why it's blank over here, or is this how it normally
Well,
looks?
no, that's how it normally looks.
Oh,
So
okay.
the interesting thing is everybody from the beginning already has these vehicles unlocked. They're already part of you. You just can't access them without putting down a geobay, which is where they spawn in.
Got it. Makes perfect sense. So
Yeah, because
this is your vehicle
yes,
roamer or whatever, but
yes,
you can't spawn it until you actually build your base and all that other
yes,
stuff. Okay.
yeah. Well, you can like if you go to your friend's base and he has like let's say the roamer geobay, you can just spawn in your roamer right there.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Okay.
So it's not your friend's, it's yours. Because every single time you activate it, it's
Oh.
always going to be yours. It's not going to be your friend.
Oh, okay. There I didn't know that. All right, so let's pick one for an example and do like I said, we'll go through it a little bit more quickly. We got to pick up the pace here. So which one should I start off with?
I would say let's start out first with the Colossus.
Colossus.
Because
Okay.
yeah, because the Colossus and the Roamer and the Nomad, they're all the same thing. Even the Pilgrim, the only difference is that the Pilgrim can drive on top of water.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have Colossus, we have
Mm,
cargo and technology. I mean that's pretty self-explanatory.
yeah. So for this one, for whatever reason, Exocraft, like I mentioned a little bit earlier on, is they are like a creature unto their own. They do not like cooperating at all. I've tried brute forcing it. I've tried being nice. It doesn't want to give me the goods.
Okay.
Um,
We're talking about the
so
technology tab here.
yes,
Okay.
even the storage. So you can't increase the storage.
Okay.
It is what it is. You
Um
can't do anything with it,
I
like at
can
all.
supercharge everything though, right?
No,
Oh, you can't
it
even do
will it
that.
will
Okay.
you can try, and it'll say that it did, but it won't. The moment you go back into the game, it will instantly revert back to how it was.
Interesting. Okay, so we
Yeah,
don't
I
have as much freedom with our vehicles as we do with like
yeah.
our other stuff here.
Uh, th there's always workarounds. There's always
Okay.
workarounds. Like I mentioned, everything has its caveats.
All right.
So here's the interesting thing. I got rid of everything in this thing, put three engine S class upgrades, and just duplicated the engine. So I just duplicated the fusion engine over and over and over again.
Okay.
And I essentially have vehicles that are so fast. It's sometimes if your hardware can't keep up, you'll move faster than the terrain can actually spawn in. So you end up falling through the floor.
Okay, so don't do that unless you've got a really good PC to run it on.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's crazy. It's crazy how fast these things are. The Colossus has like this weird thing where um I hesitate to call it its physics engine, more of like just the way it interacts with the world. So it's physics itself.
Mhm.
Um, it has this weird thing where when you jump, it's always acting like if it's in low gravity. So with like the Nomad or the the Roamer, the Pilgrim, they interact like you normally would with any jump. You jump and then the car just instantly wants to come back down, so you start plummeting, just like a normal car would.
Mhm.
With the Colossus, it's like it's weird. It acts like if it's like super light, like it
Mhm.
slowly
Yeah, like you're
glides
on the moon
down
or
and you
something.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, dude, hurry up.
Okay.
Like, right? And then you would think, oh, then that means I should be able to travel, further in jumps, right? I just need that momentum. Like, nope. The moment you lose traction with the ground, it just loses all momentum and just slowly starts to like go down.
Oh
Like,
wow. Okay,
it's
so
so weird.
yeah, so you like again, like we've mentioned before, you go crazy and you get some kind of weird, funky things in the game with your
Right,
exocraft. All
right.
right, so
Um,
I'm in the Colossus. While you're talking, I just added another fusion engine and an A class
mhm.
upgrade here. I can't show this because when we're done walking through this, I do want to load up the game and show all the stuff we
Yeah.
did, but I won't have access to the Colossus, so I won't be able to show that in the
Well,
game.
we
But
can always go to my base and you could use my Geo Bay.
okay, yeah, we could even do
Yeah.
that too. And okay,
Yeah.
so what else should I add in here?
Well, anything. I mean, you can kind of do the thrusters, but essentially adding more fusion engines gives you more overall boost,
Okay.
and speed. The the thrusters are good for like getting out of like holes if you're stuck, because it'll give you that initial push, so you
Okay.
can kind of like pop your way out of holes and ditches.
Thrusters. Where do I find that?
So that would be under, I believe it's add item, then you go to technology, it's all vehicles.
Oh, all vehicles.
Um,
I'm under.
no, no, it's not all vehicles. Is it? Nope, that's upgrade vehicles. That would be
It would be vehicle.
Exocraft Booster. Exocraft
Exocraft
Booster.
booster. There it is.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
yeah. So it looks like a just like a NOS button or like a little push. It recharges after a while.
Do I have to manually add each one of these, or can you like copy and paste or duplicate these, or is there like a shortcut
Um,
for
un
that?
Unfortunately, I don't know why he changed this. But the guy who made the save editor, maybe it's just a consequence of other unforeseen circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
But before, you would just, once you place down an item, you would just go back to add item, and all the stuff that you just did would just be there. So you could just tap save again and then tap save again. But now it just resets back to blank.
Oh, okay. All right. So
Yeah.
that's okay. You just got to add each one manually. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
All right. I added a few things in there.
yeah. So now, if we want to get into the interesting things, so the Nautilus and the Minotaur are last. So all I can say about the Nautilus is do not add too many upgrades because it will start freaking out. Because it works like a ship where if you increase the mobility too much, it starts, pinballing you everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean, I found a good middle ground. I just added six. They call it Humboldt Drive. And that was it six? I don't think it was six. Was it? Yeah, it was six. Six Humboldt drives, and everything else is the osmotic generator, which I think reduces the amount of fuel that you use. So it's a lot faster.
Oh,
You know.
I'm like trying to
Um,
add it, and I realized I'm in the cargo tab. So if you're new to this, make sure you're paying attention to the tab up here, and that'll affect what you
yeah,
can do. I noticed it doesn't even let me enable all slots. Like it's not even an option you can
yeah,
pick. Okay.
yeah.
What is it you wanted me to add?
It's called. So they're
Humboldt
called,
Drive. Got it.
yeah, Humboldt drive. So you can add six of those,
Oh, it's the thing that's
and
already in
then
there. Okay, got it.
yeah, yeah. So you can add six of those. You can put one of them if you want in a supercharged slot. You can. It's also good to like put things in like in squares, so geometric shapes. So
Okay.
the more of the same upgrade is touching, and this is universal for everything. Your exocraft, your multi-tool, your ships, everything. The more that they touch, the bigger bonus you get.
So I've noticed that, and maybe you can clarify the color of the border around it.
hmm
Does that mean anything?
Yes, it means that it's getting a bonus because it's touching something that's like the two are interacting, so they're like charging each other up.
But I
So
what I mean is like I've seen some that are like yellow, some are orange or whatever color. Does the color matter
no,
or
no,
okay? It's just the
no.
fact that it
Yeah,
has the color that means you're getting the bonus.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. The fact that the border is different is just to help you to make a distinction. Because I mean, you want to know if these four things that are different are interacting with these other four things that are different.
got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So
So
you know what's synergizing with what else.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
All right, I've got
yeah.
six of the Humboldt drives. I have one of them on
mhm,
a what do you call it? Supercharged slot.
Supercharged. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
Anything
then,
else?
yeah. So then you can also add the I think it's osmotic generator.
Is that under
That should
aquatic?
be, yeah,
Osmotic
so
generator. Okay. Just
yeah.
one?
So well, you can add as many as you want of that one. It
Oh,
it
okay.
just decreases, I believe, the cost of your fuel.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, I
I
like
believe.
that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll just add another one here just to keep the ball rolling.
hmm
And
hmm
okay, that's good enough.
Yep.
All right.
All right. So when we get into the fun stuff, where you could definitely make yourself overpowered, is the Minotaur.
Okay, that's
So
the one I was kind of excited for. I like the Minotaur.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. Okay. So you can add stuff. You can add stuff to kind of make it look cooler. Like the Minotaur AI, hardware left arm, hardware right arm, just to make it look more like hardcore.
Uh-huh. I actually did
Um,
that quest line last
mm,
night and it looked pretty
yeah,
sick when I was done with it. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So another thing you can do. So I tried duplicating the engine, but it didn't really have any kind of like effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I just gave it like three S class upgrades and call it a night. Now, the fun part is when you get to the weapons. So I have the Minotaur boar,
Okay.
and then the Minotaur cannon.
I'm gonna add both of
And
those. Okay.
yeah, and for whatever reason, I I I, I should have saw this coming because I had done it with my multi tool before. But then I remembered that the Minotaur doesn't have any recoil. So when I added, I essentially have six of the Minotaur bore and then three of the Minotaur cannon, and it essentially turns your arm if you have the arm installed. You don't have to have it installed, but it looks cooler coming out of your arm.
Okay.
Um, it essentially turns it into a chain gun.
Is that the thing you were showing us on the live stream?
I,
Uh,
I I believe so, or I was firing all those like blue balls. Like
yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah, yeah. So it turns your arm into essentially a chain gun.
Okay.
Um, Now you still have to recharge it, um, because it has like a certain like ammo, and then you have to recharge it again.
Sure.
But it's super fast. Yeah.
Okay. So I've got the
Yeah.
Minotaur boar and the Minotaur cannon in here.
Yeah. And then you have the I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that, but it starts with an A. It's flame. It's
Let's
essentially
see.
your jetpack on your Minotaur.
Uh,
I think it's a Eridanus
Eridanus,
flame.
Eridanus
Yeah,
flame, something like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, I already had that in there. So now I have
yeah.
two of them.
Yeah. So I have nine of those,
Oh, okay.
and essentially, I hit my jetpack and it just flings me in a direction, and as long as I hold it, I can keep going, and I can go for a very very long while. Um, and it eventually runs out. Then you land and it automatically recharges, so you
Okay.
can just like bunny hop your way across a planet.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I got a few of them in there to get us going here.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to know about Minotaur or vehicles in
Uh,
general?
no, that's pretty much it. That's like the basic information.
Okay, cool. Let's head over to companions. Now, this is the one
Hmm.
I did play with. No, I actually didn't
Hmm.
play with it here. I was using it in the JSON editor. But
Hmm.
go ahead, tell us about this one.
Yeah. So this one again, it's just like ships. Um, so you're gonna have the name, and
There's
then
Bob, the
have the
one that I
type head,
created with the editor.
right?
Okay.
Right. But you can change the name in game on the under like next to name.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then there's the seed. There's this seed. Then there's the other four seeds. It's essentially a combination of things. One thing that I don't think it has here, or yeah, because I don't see it, is the bone scaling. So the seed will determine the components. It will determine the color. It will determine the skin texture, and then the bone scale determines more or less the finer details. It's like the difference between having a gek that's got like a nice pointed nose than one that has like one that looks like it smashed its face into a wall.
Okay.
Uh, and then it also kind of dictates where on the creature a little bit you ride. So like Diplos, for example, the long neck Diplos, that will determine whether you ride them on their head or on their back by their neck. I like to have
Which category are you in here? Because I have creature seed, secondary seed, species seed, genus speed, biome,
genius,
and
yeah.
type. Genius. I don't see any like bone structure here.
Yeah, yeah. For some reason, it's not in here.
Oh, okay.
But it is one of the components
Okay, okay.
because
Gotcha.
pets can become infinitely complicated. Um, One thing, because you can definitely see this. So I mean it's a lot easier to break down when you were in the creature creator. Um, so there's a little tab in the creature creator.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember the name of it real quick. So
So
in the
if you were
creature,
doing creatures or companions,
Mhm.
you'd probably
Mhm.
want to do that in the creature creator, not so much
Yes,
here.
yes, because the creature creator. So if you look at it, there's going to be a little tab called Enable Advanced Mode.
Uh huh.
So if you don't have that, it will just stick you to the basics. So you're gonna have body, you're gonna have shape, head, whatever, right? For
Mm-hmm.
cats. So it will give you that. This is like your safety net. So it will only let you combine things that are normally combinable in the game, the things that go together. If you
Okay.
hit advanced, advanced just says best of luck to you, go crazy. So you can essentially click everything, even things that shouldn't be going together, and it will just stick it onto the creature. The only, I guess, the only limit to that is some parts really do require other parts. So, for example, there are some heads where, let's say, you want to put certain horns, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the proper head, nothing will pop up. It will say it's there, but because that part essentially originates from that head, it will say no. There are certain exceptions to that rule.
Mm-hmm.
There are category markers, right? So there's like head, and then it has like head one, head two, head three,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's head category two, and then it's got head one, head two, head three. So what you can do is you don't have to put the head, you just put that category marker. So it's a marker that tells you that will indicates to the game when what category this is stemming from. So you could have like head one and head one, but if you only have category for heads number one open or on your creature without having category two for heads, if you don't have that, then the other head one won't pop up.
You know, I had an idea. I have, if you, for anyone watching, if you check out the links in the description below, you could, I have it in there for the creature builder. And I
Mhm.
have, I don't have a link to the video, but if you go to my channel, I have a basic rundown. Maybe it's worth you and I hooking up again and doing a separate
Yeah,
thing on more advanced creature building, like
yeah,
creature building 2.2, 2.0 or whatever.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Because that's essentially my specialty because that's where I got my foot through the door.
there you go. So that would be perfect then. But
Mhm.
just to keep this on the file save editor, we'll just kind of what we'll say is companions. There are some basic things here you can mess with, but check out the creature builder if you want to get companions, because that kind of ties into the save editor. You'll copy the
Mhm.
information from there and paste it in there.
Mhm.
And I have the basics, but Mercenary, let's you and I get back on this again, and in a separate video, we'll go through all that stuff you're explaining now and really kind of get into the more details of that
Yeah.
creature builder, so you can get some more advanced creatures.
Yeah,
Um,
the only thing I will say on for this editor here
mm-hmm,
is if you are going to use this to mess with pets, what you can do is you can go where it says biome, you just choose what biome,
mm-hmm.
so that way you don't have to search for the particular planet. You can just change it to whatever planet you're currently on,
And
so that
that's
way it'll
useful
lay eggs.
for breeding, creature breeding.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And then there's type. So type isn't necessarily a type; it's more of a type of movement. So it's kind of like adding an animation. Some of these animations they'll work. Some of them will make your creature faster. Some of them will make them slower. Some of them will make them T pose. Some of them will just not work at all. Some of
Interesting.
them will, but it will make your creature inaccurate. No, inaccurate. Um, not able to be interacted with. So he'll move around like normal, but you won't be able to feed him or ride him or anything.
Oh,
So it'll turn
okay.
him into like a slight NPC in a sense.
Okay. So this will affect their movement. And
Yes.
this is all stuff that you can select within the creature builder as well as many other
Yes.
things too. So that's good to know. I'm
Yes.
glad you pointed that out because I saw that in the creature builder. I'm like, what the heck does it mean by type? I just picked whatever
Yeah.
randomly. So, okay, good.
Yeah.
Let's move on to bases in storage.
Yeah.
All right. I'm
Yeah.
in the tab now.
Yeah. So that one's super simple. So there's really nothing to do with like NPCs or anything here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those are mainly just like I think it's like the NPCs that you recruit during the building your base quest thing.
Oh
Because
yeah,
you recruit. Yeah.
like your scientist and whatnot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 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 So that's it. That's just what that is. And I mean, it's the same thing as like putting NPCs on your freighter and stuff like that. So it's
Okay. And then the
pretty easy. Yeah.
chest is you can just create items that'll go inside your storage container.
Yes. So
Okay.
you can increase this now. There's not really an option for increasing the size, but you can definitely increase the size. Um, but that's more of just like a more of a brute forcing kind of thing.
But
And
you could just add a whole bunch of chests too. You don't necessarily have to have just one with a whole bunch of stuff
yeah,
in it.
well, the maximum amount of chests you can have is 10.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's the limit in the game. Then you have I think it's intermediate storage, I think that is. And that is weird. It's like the drip pan in the refrigerator or the lint uh like
The
the lint collector in the dryer,
I
you
see
know?
ingredient storage. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's
Okay.
the one. That's the one.
Okay.
So that is as far as I know, everyone keeps telling me it's the food processor.
Okay.
Yeah. You can store stuff in here. I just don't because I don't know what stuff I should store in it and I shouldn't. I don't really ever use the food processor because I'm more interested in shooting enemies in the face than baking them a cake.
Sure.
Um, I don't know that one. I just don't mess with it. I increase the storage just just for ha-has. But
That's
yeah.
fine.
Um,
We'll move on past that. I think this one is one of the easier ones. I'm gonna switch my saves
mhm.
so I can show. Uh, Now what's going on here? I do have a settlement under my normal save.
Yes.
Oh no, that's not it. It's let's see if I can find it. July. Oh, August 19th. Here it is. I'm getting my save
Mhm.
files mixed up. There we go. Settlements. All right. This is something I'm just now getting into in the game. So here we go. I'm on the settlement tab now.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So go ahead and walk us through the top here. I mean, that's pretty okay. So the first one is if you I guess if you have more than one settlement, you can select it from there,
Yes.
and then you can
Well,
name it.
you can only have one settlement at a time. If you pick another one, then it gets rid of your old one. You have to start all over again.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
never mind then. So that is your
Yeah. So
settlement.
yeah. So everything else is just like everything else. It's like seed code and all that other jazz.
Mm,
Um, you have like
population.
those, yeah, yeah, those percentages and stuff like that. So you can essentially edit. If you click on it, you can edit like the stats of things. I think if you click on one of those two items, because those two items are essentially the current items that your settlement produces.
Right. So this is my main
Um,
save, so I'm not playing with it, but I have
yeah.
the two items that it would be producing in the
Hmm.
game. Okay.
Yeah. I know it's possible to change those. I forgot because I haven't. It's been years since I've messed with settlement.
Okay.
Um, but as far as I know, there is a way to brute force and change what item it is that they're producing. So you can essentially, get like a better item, more of an item, something like that. But again, it's in our case, it's kind of like redundant due to the fact you can just give yourself money.
Right. If you're in a save editor, you don't really care about what your settlement's producing. But
Yeah, yeah,
well, I did right click on. Again, I'm not. I don't want to play too much with it, but I do see an option to
yeah.
change item, and then it
Hmm.
looks like the same window we've been looking at the whole time, where you have search type category item.
Hmm.
So not gonna do it, but I guess you could just change out whatever you wanted. But
Hmm.
as we've already said, you probably don't care too much if you're already in here messing with the save editor.
Right.
Anything? Well, let's. Anything else you want to talk about here? Does any of this matter over to the right as far as
Mm.
um, ID, name, description? Does any of this matter?
Yeah. Well, it's all the same thing as the stuff on the left. Because the game kind of treats it like if your settlement isn't just one settlement, it's like two settlements.
Okay.
Um, but um, yeah, most of that stuff, I mean, it's not really worth changing. You can try, you can probably discover something that other people haven't. Maybe make yourself like a super efficient settlement that, just gives you Ubers and Ubers of resources. I know originally concept behind settlements was to kind of help people who are builders, where their builders would give them, where the settlement would give them resources for their build.
Okay,
You
okay.
know?
And you
Yeah.
know what? I just realized what this is for perks. These are
Mm.
related to the decisions that I made in my
Yes.
settlement. So I can see right here, some of them have negative stats, some have positive stats. So if I made a
Mhm.
decision that I didn't like, I could probably alter it right here.
Well, the funny thing about settlement, like the settlement quest, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, where even if you make all the bad decisions, eventually you make decisions that undo those bad decisions, whether you like it or not, and it just snowballs from there. So eventually you end up having the best settlement.
Okay. But if you wanted to play with your settlement in the save editor,
Yeah,
that's what that is. Those are those perks.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Just like with
and save
just
editing in general, like when you talk about save editing, I imagine it almost like modding. Like it's for a totally different gamer. If you don't want to mess with this stuff and you want to play the game the way it was out of the box, then you wouldn't
Mhm.
mess with this stuff. This is for people that want to get in there and start tinkering around with it and messing with it and making it,
Yeah,
function the way
yeah.
that they want it to
Well,
function.
yeah. Well, I think of it like working on a car. I use a lot of car references. Um, so it's like working on a car where you can move stuff around in the car, but you're not allowed to put anything that's not already part of the car. So it's like you could switch the right seat with the left seat. You can interchange your tires with the same tires on the other side, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's mainly what save editing is. Modding is more of you do something in a way that either adds external information, or kind of like, let's say you get a side panel, or a chunk of metal, let's say from the side of your car, so a side panel, and then crush it and mold it into, like, let's say a turbo, and then slap it onto your engine. So technically speaking, you can still you're still using whatever it is uh, that's already there, like the
Mm-hmm.
sand in the box, but you've kind of changed it where it's not the same thing anymore. You know?
Right. You're adding in a whole new lines of programming code and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's keep going here. That was the settlement tab. We basically got that. We have three left. We have discovery, milestones,
Mhm.
reputation, and account. So I'm on the discovery tab here. I see four boxes: known technology, known words, known
Mhm.
products, and known glyphs.
Mhm. So, whatever currently I believe is what's in the box is what you know. So all you have to do if you want to know everything, to go add technology, highlight everything, and press add.
Highlight technology. Select
Yeah.
all. And there's also a button here, add technology. So if I press A and then press the letter N on the keyboard, you said?
Well, you can just so if so we'll start on the left. So if you go to known technologies, you can click on add technology,
Uh huh. Oops.
and
Yes.
then yeah, and then
Oh.
just
And then hit A, Control A, and then add.
well, yeah, you can do that. I mean, you can do it manually, but just holding down your mouse and just scrolling down until everything is highlighted, and then hit add.
Okay. So
Yeah,
let's hit add. It's really glitching out here. So I've added everything. I know all the
yes,
possible technology that could be known.
yes.
And the next screen here, the next known words, this is really cool. It looks like I can just click learn all
Yes,
and they're all checked. That's pretty
yes,
cool. All right, so I
yeah.
this save file that I've only played for a couple hours now has access to all the words of the. So I guess if I were to interact with any NPC now, I could see every word is translated.
Yeah. You can do the same thing if you like put down, or you can technically do this if it still allows you, but you could do like save scumming by essentially go up to a knowledge stone, save it, interact with it, learn a word, and then save it again, reload it, keep interacting with the same like knowledge stone over and over again. Or you could just walk across a planet interacting with all the knowledge stones since they're everywhere, and eventually learn every language within that system. Because if it's a Korvax system, you learn all the Korvax words. If it's a Viking, same thing there, and same thing
Mm.
for Korvax.
Well, I
So yeah,
mean, essentially, you could do all of this in the game. There's nothing here. Well,
yeah.
not all of it. For the most part, you can do basically what you see in the save editor, with some
Hmm.
exceptions. You could do in the game, but that's the fun of this is you can just snap a finger and you got every word. All right, so known products. I guess this is the same as the technology. I can hit add
Yes.
product, Control A, add,
Yeah.
and now this save file I would have access to all products, all I see building parts, curiosities, tradables. So anything I want to craft or buy, it's all
Hmm.
available to me now.
Yeah. Now, again, going back to certain things have caveats.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if you're on a quest, right? If you're on a quest, follow the steps of the quest. Even if you do this and you already know how to build the component that you know it's going to ask you for, just follow the quest steps. Because when you try skipping things is when the quest starts funking out on you and it's just like, okay, well now you're stuck, you
Right.
know. So always follow the quest steps.
Okay.
Um
This isn't
I
gonna
was
so this isn't gonna automatically complete quests for you. You still got to go through
Yeah,
the motion.
yes, yes. So, luckily, Hello Games kind of realized that people were doing this, so they added fail safes where they would let you learn something twice. So before it would say you can't learn this because you've already learned this. So they removed that, and they're just, oh yeah, you just learned it again, you know. So it
Mm-hmm.
lets you progress through your quests.
Okay.
The exception to that rule is if they haven't changed it, because I mean it's been so long since I started a new character. Um, the first quest when it comes to building a base, there's like a step where you have to go and use collect technology,
Mm-hmm.
berry technology,
Mm-hmm.
to go and unlock a certain blueprint, right? So then you could build it because it's
Right.
part of the tutorial. If you already have it where you learned it already, you can't buy it if you've already learned it. So you might end up
Uh,
stuck in that situation. All you have to do is just come back here. You click on remove, which is why he added that remove button, and you would just have to like scroll through this little window that's already up. Find because you can if you click category, it will like reorganize them into categories, so you can have like build components first and so on and so forth.
That's good to know, but
Um,
what I would imagine when you're describing that, like I would probably,
mhm,
and I other people, everybody would use this their own way, but I'd
mhm.
probably like if I'm unlocking all of this, I probably wouldn't then bother going through the main game story. Like I'd probably have a save
Mhm.
file to go through the storyline as it's written,
Mhm.
and then I would probably have a separate save
Yeah.
file where you could just go nuts and start playing
Yeah.
around and building everything.
Well, you can do that, but unfortunately, there's like certain things that you have to do. Otherwise, the game will not progress. Like, for example,
Oh,
when you start
okay.
a new character, you do not have access to space station, like at all.
Or like the anomaly or
The
something like
anomaly,
that. Okay, that's
exactly.
a good point. So you
Right.
do need to get through certain quest lines just to be able
Hmm.
to use everything.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, so what I recommend for people is if you really want to, just unlock everything. And then as you're progressing through the quest, if you run into a situation where it's like telling you to buy this, this blueprint so you could build it, but you can't buy it, just save your game, come back to the save editor, find where it is, in this window, because again, you can just click category and it will reorganize everything in alphabetical order within their own categories.
Mm-hmm.
Just find the item that you already unlocked, click it, remove it. It says remove selected, and that means your character doesn't know it anymore. So then you can save right here and then go back to your game and then buy it and then build it.
There you go. So you can you if you there basically all this is for the remove button. If you need to remove something to progress you through the quest line, you can do
Hmm.
that pretty easily.
Yep.
Next up, we have known glyphs. This one, I have no idea what this is.
You have you ever been through a portal?
I have. So, just to give a quick backstory, I played No Man's Sky years ago,
Hmm.
and I'm restarting again over the last couple months. So I did portals years ago, but I don't think I've really done any since I started up again. So I vaguely remember it. I know you enter glyphs, but
Mhm.
I don't really remember the details behind it.
Yeah. So pretty much every solar system has an address. So if you go into photo mode on the bottom left corner, you're going to see a bunch of symbols, which are these symbols, and
Mm-hmm.
that's essentially the address. Now, the one thing that I'm hoping they add sometime is indicating which galaxy you're in, because let's say you join a friend and he's in a different galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you try to use a portal code to get back to your home system, it won't work. There might be another system with the same address within that galaxy, but it's not your system, or at least not your home system. So they need to add some kind of indicator within the game that tells you what galaxy you're in, because there's 256 galaxies,
Mm,
and you can get lost very, very quickly.
okay.
So,
Real quick,
so
Sam is in the chat. He says you could play on creative for a quicker look into the game without an editor. That's a good point. But
mhm.
this save editor really takes it to a whole nother level. There's definitely things, especially when you get to ships and companions, that would really change it. And really, save editing is for the type of person that likes to play around with this stuff. I'm not recommending, hey, everybody, you need to do this or whatever. But there's definitely players out there that really like this kind of stuff. So that's what we're doing here. We're just showing you how to use this if you're into this sort of thing. You were telling us about glyphs. Was there anything you wanted to add about that?
so so glyphs in general, essentially, like I mentioned, they work as an address. So you would have to go to a portal, use the resources that the portal requires to charge it,
Right.
and then input your glyphs in the proper order to then travel to whatever system you want. So that's how people were like originally that's how people used to travel everywhere. And then now you can just like, like join your friend and do things of that nature. But it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
Um yeah.
So let's go to milestones and reputation, and then the last is the account. Okay, so milestones and reputation. Oh man, this thing is gonna give me a hard time here, isn't it? I can see it's glitching out a little bit here, but I see on foot exploration, colonists encountered. I'm already gonna say this is pretty self-explanatory that you can see the milestones you've completed, and then you can
Uh-huh.
input. You can change the value of each one of those. Is there much we would need to know about this?
Well, some of these you can increase and it will unlock challenges for you. But I mean, it's like giving somebody who's essentially turned themselves into a god a gold star. You know,
It would be
it's
almost
nice.
redundant at this point.
Yeah, yeah,
So, if
yeah.
you had a need for
Um,
altering your milestones, this is
yeah,
where you would do it.
yeah. You can do it for like titles. You can
Okay.
do it for like yeah for titles, and I did it simply because I hate killing something and it says, "Oh, you've gotten star number 2 on combat," and it always pops up, and I'm like, "Oh, like
Okay.
you walked 50 feet. Congratulations!" I'm like, "Oh God," it's like, So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um.
So that happens. Yeah.
Okay. So let's head over to account, and we'll wrap it up with this one. So what do we need to know about account?
Okay, so this before it never really did anything, but recently he added it. So if you look here on the left, essentially what this is these are all the rewards.
Okay.
So these are all the expedition rewards, all the like things to unlock inside the Quicksilver store, like all that stuff.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Twitch. Ooh, Twitch
Yes.
rewards.
Yes, the Twitch drop.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
these are the Twitch drops.
Yes.
Okay.
Some of them are just ships. Some of them are like little upgrades. But I mean, you already have all the stuff. Some of these
Mm-hmm.
are like pet eggs.
Okay.
Again, it doesn't really matter. There's just like random things that they were just giving out to people. There's nothing very unique or like necessarily usable
Oh, okay.
or worth using.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, but you know they're nice little trinkets.
So let's save. Let's load up the game here. Let me switch over to my scene, and we'll show the damage that I did. Let's get rid of the. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this, and I'm gonna load up. I'm gonna just close the save editor. I did save it first. Let's load up our game and see what we were left with. Here we go. And we'll have to do this quick since I'm doing this daily challenge and I'm still trying to live a normal life. I do have to keep my streams a little short. Right. After I finish this 30-day challenge, I'm gonna, milk the beginning of Starfield as best as I can, and then or for as long as I can, maybe like a week, and then let's see, which was the one we were saving. This one right here. All right, it's loading up. And then I'm going to switch my schedule back to, I don't know, maybe every other day or something like that. And then I'll do my streams a little bit longer. But doing it every day I don't want to say it's like taking a toll. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but it is kind of just messing up my daily schedule a little bit. So that's why I don't mean to rush through it, but, around 2 hours is when I do start wrapping things up. So
yeah, but it's still putting your nose to the grindstone. And I mean, eventually it takes its toll.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel it. It's been about 2 weeks now, and it's what's happening is I'm staying up later, I'm sleeping in longer, and then I start staying up even later, and it's kind of creating this vicious cycle. So, all right, so I'm in the game. Let's look at some of the stuff we were playing around with. I'm gonna go ahead and hit tab, and there you go. You can see I literally have every single slot opened. Same with this. I've got a bunch of upgrades here. My refinery that I put in wants me to build something here. Oh, okay. My starship. Oh, I've got a living starship. We did that a minute ago, so I kind of forgot. So here's my living ship that I made in the save editor.
What does it look like? Is it like a chicken?
It looks like a normal living ship. And this is, just to go back to Sam's point, like you could just play creative mode, but this is one of the things you would take you a long time to do in creative mode. So, and we just did it in a short amount of time, and that's explaining it.
See, nice. That one, it's missing its side panels.
Oh, it is.
It's got the spine. It doesn't have the antennas. But yeah, no, it's pretty good.
All right. I forget, how do you pan your camera around on PC?
You would go Alt? Into the...
Oh, it's Alt.
Yeah, then all the way to the right. Yeah, all the way to the right, the camera.
Okay. Is that as far as it goes? It's not going any further. I'm holding the Alt key. I don't know. Let me change the view so I can see the inside of it. I'm kind of curious about that. I've been wanting this living ship.
Yeah, the inside's pretty interesting. And it moves a lot.
There we go. Yeah, and it's controlling. I mean, I don't have the base a baseline for a living ship, so I don't know if it's like controlling a lot better or what. So that's pretty cool. There's the Atlas Pass that I made. Here's all the components that we added. Let's land and then check out the multi-tool. Yeah, I don't think we'll have time to do the exocrafts, but maybe we'll save that for another video. So let's land here. Here we go. Let's take a look at the multi-tool here. Okay, so there's the multi-tool that I made here. The S-Class. Yeah, there you go. There you can see it right there in my hand. I don't know if can I move the camera around to get a better view of it? I don't think so. But that's it. That's the save editor. Anything else you want to add to what we talked about today, or are you good?
Yeah. No, that's pretty much it. I mean, we touched all the bases. I mean, the next time we can talk more in depth about the creatures. But one key thing is within the save editor, you know, there is that one thing where you could edit the JSON directly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but even that has limits because I would say, luckily, for me, it's a bit of an obstacle. But for most people, I would say, luckily, it's a bit of it's a blessing, that it has these fail safes where things have like a certain cap to things where he says you can't push it any further, and if you want to, you would have to use something external. Um, but you could definitely do a lot of that, like a lot of that. And you could definitely push things even past their breaking point. um, I mean, it's a reason why I have literally my backup in my computer, and then my backup to my backup, and then another one within the cloud storage, and then another one within a flash drive. Because if you do end up doing something unintentionally, and it could be literally as something as like a simple character that you changed accidentally
Mm-hmm.
or deleted accidentally. Because again, as I mentioned, it's like driving a car. It's more of a feel than like just reading the instruction manual. Um, you can have things go catastrophically wrong. I've had several people who I've lost count of so many people who I've given like some kind of tutorial to. They get overconfident and they lose everything. And the first thing that I say is just reload your storage, like load up your backup. And like, oh, I didn't do
Yeah.
it, you know. So,
Yeah.
the only other time, again, I try to stay in the positive and not the negative, but I would say there was a certain point in time where there was this abundance of content creators who were just solely focused on making content, the consequences be damned, of glitches and all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
without testing things. Like the moment they would discover something, bam, they would put up a video. And there was one time where I was literally busy for like about almost 2 months straight of helping people recover their save files because they did a specific glitch with a ship, that ended up not corrupting their save, but that one ship, if the game can't read everything, like
And this was from like a
sequentially,
YouTube video that they got that from.
yes, yes.
Mm.
Um, and it was a lot of content creators, so it spread like wildfire.
Oh God.
Um, where they were teaching people this glitch to make like a type of god ship,
Mm-hmm.
or at least that's what they were calling it. Like multiple people were calling it that. And
I think I've seen the video. I think I know what you're talking about.
well, it's not just one specific person. It was like a
Okay.
lot of people.
Oh,
Like it
okay.
was so many. Like it was crazy. Because one person heard about it, they jumped on it, and there was like so many videos everywhere. Like I
Wow.
lost count.
Well,
Um,
that's a good point, and that's a probably a good thing to wrap things up with is use all of this save editing at your own risk, and if you don't back up your files, be prepared to lose them. So, and that's
yeah.
not just save
Um,
editing; that's just computer programs in general. So,
yeah.
before you go poking around in here, back up all your saves. So if something does go wrong, you can go back to it. And maybe I would recommend, my suggestion would be, obviously use it at your own risk, but take it
Mhm.
easy. Don't just go completely insane. Maybe like focus on one thing and play with it a little bit, then test it out in the game. And if that's working, maybe go on to something else or something.
Yeah.
That's just my suggestion. I don't know. What do you think? You would?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, everyone's, everyone's their own adult, and you should know your own limits, and if you want to push your limits, fine, but be safe about it. The one thing I will say, um, is no one should ever use this to essentially ruin other people's experience in the game. Um, because I will find out about it,
Yeah.
and so will all my friends,
Let's just
and we do
not
not want
ruin
that.
people's experiences in general, whether using a save editor or not. Let's all have a good time and enjoy the game.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. You'd
Oh,
you'd
there's
be
always
surprised
people
because
like that out there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, like so this game has like it's I call it its seasons. Because again, it's like I tell everybody. I don't play competitive games anymore simply because they're just not a challenge for me because people have the same dumb habits. And if I know you're going to be standing in that corner, I'm just going to shoot you through the wall. You can call me a cheater, but I know that everyone stands by that wall, so I'm just going to throw something in there. Hopefully, it kills somebody, whatever. Um, but depending on the situation in other games that are highly competitive,
Mm-hmm.
whether they be Apex, Call of Duty, Battlefield, whatever it may be. When those player bases usually go down, when people either get fed up or get bored, they migrate. And a lot of them come to this game because they see like the potential in it. And they do come with that, competitive, overly aggressive mentality. And the No Man's Sky community is unique to other communities. I think the only other community that comes close to us is like the Warframe community, where people will literally just give you stuff, like
Yeah, I see that all
just
the
to give you
time.
stuff. And yeah. Um, so these people get weeded out very quickly. They either adapt and understand that this is a cooperative adventure, not a competitive one. So that's why you'll find there are plenty of solar systems that people have tried starting clans in. They lay claim to things, and most people avoid them. But they become great, like they literally become ghost towns because they essentially push everybody away. No one wants to play with them. That mentality of like the whole overly aggression, expansion kind of thing just dies out very quickly. And like, that's why there's even so many discords that just are populated by like nobody. Because
Mm-hmm.
everyone just jumped ship, when the boat's sinking, the rats flee. Um,
So
but
we're
yeah, yeah.
we're building a community. We're gonna have fun and we're gonna share good knowledge and be good players to each other. Well, thank you so much for joining on the stream and thanks for supporting the channel. I really appreciate that and everything you've contributed. And we're gonna do another one of these to take another deep dive into the creature builder.
Hmm.
And this video, I'm going to do an edit. There's a lot of information, but I'll try to shrink it down. I think YouTube likes the videos to be a little bit shorter, so I'll have to trim out some of it. Um,
Hmm.
but I really appreciate all the information you gave us, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the links in the description below, and join the Discord. And that's it. Have yourself a wonderful day, everyone.
See ya.
Alrighty. Hang on one second here.